Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Wellzest podcast. You are in for more than a treat today. I am thrilled because I have Marat Omarov, who is here with me from the ARC. Marat is a visionary, a game changer. Let me tell you a little bit about Marat. So Marat is a visionary, founder of the ARC, a regenerative wellness village in Costa Rica that redefines how we live and thrive together. After a successful career leading global scale projects, including being recognized by the president of Kazakhstan for his leadership at Expo 2017 at Sana, Marat shifted his focus from systems of performance to systems of purpose. Now he's building the ARC as a real world blueprint for intentional, profitable, and deeply human living, combining regenerative design, shared ownership models, and conscious community building. The ARC isn't a dream, it's already happening. Marat brings a rare combination of grounded execution and visionary clarity. And today, he's here to share the story behind the ARC, the challenges of pioneering a new model of living, and why he believes we're ready for a post-capitalistic future that actually works. Marat, wow. I'm so excited to have you on the podcast. Wow, so many cool things. Like, we were just kind of getting into the juiciness before the show. I mean, incredible. And the ARC just looks stunning, like literally like a magical place. Like, amazing. So cool to see your vision come to life.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Me too. So jazzed. You know, I think what's really interesting about you, as I've, done research on you and learned, about your background, is where you came from to what you're creating now. So you pretty much, you had national recognition, prestige, the success, like all of the, I'll call them trappings. And, you have shifted your life into such a new, beautiful place. You're on such a profound mission. Walk me through what happened. Like, what was the first crack in the facade? You're like, hey, I've done, I've checked all the boxes, I've done all the things, I've got the awards, but I'm actually living someone else's truth.
Yeah, thank you. That's there was no exact moment, to be honest. Yeah. But at the same time, everything that was happening was preparing me and everything. I also want to say, I really feel very uncomfortable speaking always about me. It's funny enough to be a guest of the podcast and be starting from that, but it is so. And I don't know how deep esoteric or how much we're going to frighten your audience from this show. I hope not, and I hope we're just going to create more
yes, that's what we're here for.
Attention. I believe whatever is happening is not me or you or anyone else, but I believe truly that this is just the universe, that we all are just this physical representation of what is unfolding and what is happening in the universe. And there is no me. So like whenever I just want to say to everybody who's listening or watching this, it's just like whenever I'm going to be referring to me, there is zero my achievements in anything that has happened. Everything is just unfolding and through me, and it's not a posed humility. I truly believe so, and it's nothing. What's happening, good or bad or whatever we market, is nothing done by me. So anyway, so I believe. Thank you for this, because otherwise I feel always uncomfortable of like talking about myself.
No,
and
what a profound way to look at things, and I think you're in good company, because that's very much about the Wellzest ethos. Great. Is that everything comes from creation. We're all creation, and I love, and just even the way that you talk about the ARC, it's embodied, which is so beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I believe there was no specific moment, but at the same time, everything that was happening in my life, I'm 42 at the moment, everything that was happening was kind of self-preparing and bringing all traumas, on conditioning, on programming, everything, all successes, all failures, everything was kind of pulling the universe, was kind of like I'm cooking you. I'm cooking you. You're getting somewhere. Where I honestly, it would be such a big lie if I would tell you, like, Teju, yeah, there was this perfect moment when I knew exactly that I'm living and I'm going to do something that I'm doing now. It's going to be such a huge lie, because I knew nothing, and I will lie to you if I tell that I know something now. But I knew nothing and I know nothing. But I just felt all my life that there is a voice inside. There was a voice and there is still a voice, and this voice is becoming louder and louder. And that voice was constantly saying that this is not for me, and there is something else, and I just have to go on that some sort of a quest. And there was no quest of, like, for whatever, like there was no path that, like in a computer game, that the hero has to go towards certain direction. There was no, like, there is a dragon and you have to go and slay the dragon and save a princess. No, there was never that. There was always like something we and it was not relatable towards, like, like the way we live or the way how we relate. There was just like something like there has to be some more kind of authenticity and honesty and sincerity in the way we're doing things and the way we're creating and the way we're relating and creating and whatsoever. And it was never whatever I was getting myself into. I was blessed enough, and while living in Kazakhstan, and by dedicating myself towards the projects that I truly felt in the moment that they felt important, and I believe that I was doing things that were truly a calling, and they also created me in a sense. And then there were moments when I was not. I was truly thinking, by being in governmental work and or partially in politics, that I was thinking that I want to get inside because I want to influence from inside and change things. And then I realized that that's not the way. And I could not, and I'm just I don't know what's needed, a big reset button. And I'm not saying specifically about Kazakhstan at all. I'm just saying in general about, like, the global order. And I think now when you like looking at the United States, you can say like, oh, politics cannot be changed from inside because it's not about personalities, it's about the system in itself, right?
Totally. I couldn't agree more.
And this is, this is like every person from any country can relate, because we all see that the model in general it's dysfunctional, and it's not about personalities. It's very easy to make somebody a villain in a story, but the thing is that this whole system, how it was created, how it's like layer after layer after layer, it just became dysfunctional and unworkable. And whoever gets inside of the system, they're just becoming parts of the system, parts of that whole, And for me, it was just like when I tried and I stepped inside, I just realized that I won't be able to do it, and it's not for me. And I just had to step out into that quest towards something which became the arc. And it's also not, I believe, and I want to think so, it's not the final destination, and I don't know what life holds further for me, but I truly believe that the arc is an important stone and this foundation of authenticity with which we're approaching things in creation of the arc.
I love that. So many great things to unpack there. There's one thing that really stuck with me. You talked about system, and especially systems in politics. I do think that it's very easy to, and people can take this the way that they want, to point at someone, a politician, a leader in government, whatever it may be, and say like, hey, you're the problem. In some cases they are. Let's just call it like it is. But I love that you said that sometimes people get into the system and they become a part of that. What do you think it is about the systems that we've set up to govern, whether it's healthcare, whatever it may be, the systems that are supposed to actually guide human life? What are the issues? Like, what creates this architecture where we're struggling? Like, it's fundamentally flawed. Like, what are the elements that we just haven't been able to figure out? Hey, there's a better way for us to move through the world to create systems of people that would be more productive. It feels like we haven't been able to figure it out. And I'm trying to figure out what's the root cause of this. Like, why is this so hard?
I think, that's such a great question. Thank you so much. And then we can unpack so much. All this show can be just about that. And I'll be so happy if we just stay in that subject because I love this subject. Yes. The thing is that I believe what we have to look at is that the system is, and that this is going to be a big surprise maybe, is actually or was executing its function. If you see who has created the system, then it's executing its function. And who has created the system? It's the minority which was dominating. It's the dominance of a man over woman, of a few over many, of different races over others. So if you think that the people who created this system, and if you look at the system is actually working for them. Right. It's just we are now, as a majority of people, we're like, wait a second. That system is not working fairly. This system is created to suppress certain demographics by whatever differentiation on gender, race, nationality, whatsoever, or origin, in which kind of family you were born. And this system is not taking nature as an equal stakeholder. The system is disempowering people through educational systems. So actually the system was functioning for quite good some time right. for certain purposes. And now we are stepping in, and that's again, I'm coming back, I believe I'm going to be coming back a lot to this analogy and the understanding of how things work. The thing is that the way I personally want to believe, and I know that maybe you also believe like this, and I know that many of us believe like this, that the way the universe is operating, the frequency, the way it's like now turning things upside down. Why? Because it's taking us towards this all-encompassing unconditional love, which is the moving force of the universe. And that system cannot withstand that because it was not built with love in place. It was built with greed. It was built with inequality. It was built to benefit few over many. And now the universe, the actual energy of the universe and the moving force is just like breaking it up, and it's like an iceberg. It's just not cracking anymore. And the powers who were holding this system, have created this system. They're trying to grab more, but the situation now is looks like a wet soap in a sense. That the more they try to squeeze it, the more it just jumps out.
I see that analogy so clearly,
right? And they're like trying to hold it everywhere, and they kind of perceive that the more control, the more they're gonna squeeze. But the more they're squeezing, the more it jumps out. And that's where we live, and that's where people like you, like people like me, people like other people who feel the calling. And when we say that this calling is inside, and we say like, I'm going to go against the flow. I'm not going to conform. I'm going to listen to my heart, and I'm going to do things from sincerity and authenticity. And I might not yet know what it is, but I'm not going to sell myself for $1. I'm just going to go independently of how the finances are going to look like, but I'm going to create something from the heart. And then whenever this is happening, the more of us are going to be doing this, the more the system is going to be collapsing, because also this is the personal empowerment of and freedom of each individual, and this system is not designed for that. Yeah, it's designed for obedience.
I love that you said that, because I was actually in a conversation with a group of friends, and the term patriarchy kept coming up versus matriarchy. I would love for you what did those terms mean to you? I feel like on the Instagram, on the TikTok, and all the things, I keep seeing people talk about, what systems would look like if they were, grounded in matriarchy and more of that feminine energy, versus patriarchy, which people say that that's really the core of the system that we are now. I would love your lens on those, on both of those terms, what they mean.
Thank you. That's a good question. I believe that definitely patriarchy is that's what created it, right? And the dominance of a male over female is what built this world. right? It's just like the provider, and then like immediately like the financial kind of abundance became the thing, and women got disempowered. And what we've seen, and I think it's a lot is like happening, and this is a very simplified situation, right? What we've seen a lot, which was happening in the maybe 90s, beginning of 2000s, you know, when the pendulum the swing of the pendulum went into this side of feminism, which is not a matriarchy, but it was like kind of making women men. And that was wrong, right? And now like when I'm so grateful to see and happy to see that now it's coming back into the middle, but it was also a normal process, right? Like when something is getting suppressed for so long, then it's getting loose, and it's just like hits another side, another side of the pendulum with the same force. And then the pendulum comes in the middle, slowly, like, you know, swings back. So I believe we went back now from that pendulum of feminism to when women became men. Like, you know, girls were like wearing pants and like, you know, just becoming super achievers. And now it's coming back. And I believe the truth is in the middle, and both energies are extremely important for the creativity and for creation. And I'm recently very freshly in this beautiful feeling of love that for the first time in my 42 years, I experienced finally what it is to feel love rather than to think that you love. Wow. And I believe for any man, it's an insane achievement in life. Like for us to finally feel with the heart and not try to feel through the head.
Right.
And this dance that and I'm very mental, and so like for me being in the heart is a lot of job, a lot of work, and I finally see how two energies are kind of intertwined. Right. And how women, when a woman feels supported and not taking care of, it's a very bad. I'm very conscious about wording because we. Can I swear in your podcast? Or
yeah,
no?
Because
we fucked up a lot of words in the human evolution, and I don't want to say like a woman taking care of, and because taking care of sounds very wrong. So when a woman feels supported and held, in a sense, when a woman feels safe, and then a woman can start achieving and producing and reaching out from a very different perspective, when she feels like this soft power with which it's not like an achiever like a man, but it's like, you know, it's an embracing softness which invites, to which people want to lean into. And then how we as men, we are like also feeling this kind of support that, like, you know, when I always feel like I'm like a wall in a sense behind her, and like I'm like this kind of protective shield, and she's my soft blanket. So like, you know, and when I feel like, you know, like, so I'm like I'm there like to protect her from all the, like, you know, harshness of life. And whenever I fall, I feel like, oh, I just like falling into this like soft, and I'm like, that's so nice. And I believe this creation that has to happen, it's not one or the other, but these are both. You know, when we're together co-creating from the same kind of thing. And of course, we can go with matriarchy, and it's true, right? Like it's Mother Earth. We never say it's Father Earth.
Right.
It's Mother Earth. So like matriarchy it's the root, right, of like everything. It's women who are giving birth. You are the ones who are prolonging life. And we're participating there to a certain extent. Yeah. And I believe there has to be like both. We have to find the constant dance between feminine and masculine within us, and to learn this eternal dance and eternal balance. Right. And definitely I would like personally to see more women in, I don't want to say in power, because again it's gonna sound so wrong, but women leading with a softness, not leading as men, you know. And then if this is, because this is also a big challenge, and it's not a challenge, I don't want to say it's a big challenge for women, it's a challenge for women in power to operate from that space, because again the space was created by men for men.
Exactly. And I actually want to say, because when you talk about feminism and kind of how the pendulum swung, and there was a stage where kind of women were, okay, I need to emulate the man in the boardroom, and like that's to me, and I've always struggled with this, because I feel like feminism has been demonized in our society when there were really actually positive things, like advocating for, equality of wages, advocating for women to have more opportunities in different types of jobs, and it could on and on and on and on. But I do feel like the system dictated what feminine leadership needed to look like. You need to be, and you see it all the time, you need to be dressed like this, or women coming with like vibrancy and whatnot. Oh, you're not taken seriously because you're not, and we've seen this talk track over and over again. Oh, you're too beautiful to lead, or you're too this, or you need to dress down and not cause, and I agree with you when I'll say that it seems like finally the pendulum is swinging, where that softness is rich and valued, and we're starting to recognize what that is and what that does to shift societies and communities, and how it changes the way that the way that we show up, the way that we think about systems, that it's not this, it's more of a collective and an opening. Do you feel like we're in the peak of the resistance? Because I hear people, all the time, like everyone's like, this is a mess, especially with stuff that's going on in the United States. Do you feel like we're in the peak of that resistance? If you were to kind of predict where we are in the wave, and we're about to come out on the other side.
I believe that we are in an inversion point, where the civilization, the system has already collapsed, to be honest. And I believe this collapse that has happened with COVID. Pandemic was that trigger that finally, that was the reset button. And I always, and this is if this has collapsed now, the new civilization is happening. And I believe that I always like to bring an analogy of history books. When we were reading about, the collapse of Roman Empire. And it would be like one page in a history book, but it took 400 years. Right. So how many lives, how many destinies, how many, and it was like a collapse, and then in the history book, you're like, and then the Roman Empire collapsed. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
in the history of the planet and even of the human civilization, what's happening now, just it's 10, 20, 40, 50 years. This is so insignificant. It's just we're living we're boiling in this pot, so therefore we're feeling. But I believe it already has happened, and the process is irreversible. I think it's just going to be happening more and more and more. And unfortunately, one thing I personally believe is that we haven't yet seen the hard collapse. The hard collapse, which is going to involve, unfortunately, a lot of innocent lives, loss of a lot of innocent lives, and unfortunately there are going to be more and more severe events happening, including, I believe, severe weather events caused by humans, and we are entering into this phase of the next maybe 5 to 20 years when there's going to be a lot of destabilizing events in the world, which are in the perspective, in the global perspective of this civilization and these stages of human evolution, are required, and it's ugly to say, and unfortunately that's the pain through which we have to go. That's the rock bottom is almost there, I believe.
I talk about this all the time, and people think, they're like, oh, you're being this is civilization. These things happen. This has happened over time. There's civilizations come and go. Things, different types and styles of life on this planet have come and they've gone. And what will happen next, we don't know. But we would be remiss not to acknowledge that it's a part of the phenomenon of being on this planet that there are cycles, and out of death comes rebirth, and you hope that we're able to mitigate some of this, but if you just historically speaking, these things have happened, and it kind of is. It kind of is, and it's how do we react with the time that we have here, I think is really key. How do we create more sustainable leadership to guide us through these times? I'm curious what you think we need in terms of leadership now. And I feel like a lot of what you've talked about at the ARC has been kind of leadership without control. Like, what does leadership without control actually look like? And what do we need now, at this stage of humanity?
Well, we need humanity.
Yeah. Well, let's start there.
Let's start there, that we need to understand and to acknowledge, to truly accept ourselves as part of a whole rather than the owners of the whole.
Yeah.
And this is the foundational thing. If we don't understand that, then we're talking nothing. It's just like if we keep thinking that working with nature is a trade-off where you just like send money to like buy carbon credits, that's a very wrong approach, which is not going to lead us anywhere. So I think another thing is that what we have to understand is that infinite growth on finite planet is impossible by nature. And all the system is capitalism is built on the idea of infinite growth. Right. It's that you constantly have to be growing, right? It's like the stocks have to constantly grow and whatsoever. Without these two fundamental approaches, two fundamental core pillars, the rest is just like, it's just impossible to talk. And this comes with, obviously, with certain evolution of consciousness, right, of both men and women, independent, just like humans. And of course, it's I always like to bring an analogy that humans, that women, you are like human 2.0. And men, it is so. And men, we are like 1.0, and we are so. And women are traditionally, you work much more on yourself, so you become like human 3.0. And men, we're working like very little on ourselves, so we become like a human 1.25. When we were supposed to work like 3 times higher, so at least to match the level, But it's true, like we're very mental, we're way more disconnected, we're way more animals, men, rather than women, right? Like a lot of our decisions are driven by testosterone and by competition, when all evolution is based on cooperation, and women, you naturally feel about it. And if we have a little bit of time, I want to share also this interesting story about the concept of evolution. It's going to be very quick. I'll try to make it very quick.
Yes, please do.
Very little people know about it, and actually, I will remember who shared first this concept. But there was this person. We all know that like Charles Darwin wrote The Evolution of Species, right?
Right.
And you remember the main phrase, or the main kind of takeaway from it, is that the evolution of species is based on the survival of the fittest.
Right.
And this is like this is the main kind of cornerstone of everything. And there was another naturalist and traveler, and and this is like, it's so interesting how to see how the system was working. Charles Darwin was from very high society, so he belonged to this kind. We call them white rich man, right? So he belonged to that circle. Let's just call it what it is. He belonged to these circles and the royal society and like of scientists and blah 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 in the United Kingdom. And there was another person whose name was Alfred Russel Wallace. And Alfred Russel Wallace was the one who had Charles Darwin as his hero, but he was also a traveler. He was from a lower society, lower class. He was just a traveler, and he happened to be writing pretty much the same work as Charles Darwin at the same time as Charles Darwin. And later on, he got malaria, I don't remember in which island, somewhere in Asia, and he was practically much thinking that he's dying. So he's sending his work to Charles Darwin. And with like, Charles, you're my hero, everything, this is the work, and I hope that this can become like, at least somehow you can consider a part of your work, because I know that you're working on something similar. And that this Charles Darwin receives that, and he sends this to the Royal Society in the UK, and he says that this work is amazing of Alfred Russel Wallace, and it's so amazing that it's pretty much the same, almost the same that I wrote. So I'm going to take him as a co-author, so you can see always that Alfred Russel Wallace is a co-author of Evolution of Species. The only thing that they have changed with the difference between, and remember there were two classes writing this book, and what Alfred Russel Wallace wrote, that the evolution is based on Charles Darwin was saying evolution is based on competition and survival of the fittest.
Right.
And Alfred Russel Wallace said evolution is based on collaboration and elimination of the weakest. Very simple change, huge meaning.
Profound, yeah.
Profound.
Very important, yeah.
Very different worlds that we're building from there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you see, like, and that's when it comes to your very first question: why this system is like this as it is? Because there was a white rich man that says we cannot put it like this because this wording is not supporting the system that we're currently living in and that we're currently creating. Because we have to create the competition and survival of the fittest. Because survival of the fittest, you have to become the first. Whereas, like in the elimination of the weakest, you just don't have to be the last.
Right. Exactly. Wow, I think about how different the world would be.
There is a parallel reality with a completely different world.
Where there's people are collaborating. There isn't like this infinite growth push. Right.
And that's when again the question to like matriarchy and like masculine and feminine, but like then that world that would be built from that narrative would be very different because girls would have a very different space because women are by nature collaborative.
Right.
Men were competitors, right? So like girls, you work together, you create together. So therefore, the leadership has to, I believe, take into consideration that the whole nature is not built on competition. If you look at it, I know that now that when I share this with you, you won't be able to look at the evolution and nature the same eye, and I hope everybody who's listening to this well, because now when you go to nature and you see and you're like, actually it's not built on competition, truly, it's built on collaboration. One feeds another and another feeds another, and just like there is a natural cycle of life and death, as we said, right? But it's all, whatever is getting birth and dying then feeds the rest of the ecosystem, and it's getting rebirth, and the cycle goes on again and again. And the moment we kind of separated us from nature and we said that like, oh, we are like, we are this kind of materialistic scientific society, then we kind of stopped learning from it as well. We kind of stopped relating to each other as part of nature, as part of one, as part of whole, not even just with a tree or with a dog or with a cat, but with each other. We started separating each other on countries, nationalities, and whatsoever. And this separation led to wherever we are. So the leadership now is, first of all, has to accept the fact that we're part of that and take nature as an equal stakeholder and start finally not just caring for it, but just like living in it, like being part of it.
Being part of it, yes, I think that's key. And you talk about separation, and more than ever, I hear people talking about how they feel separated, they feel disconnected. Why do you think that is, despite the fact that we are in an era where technically there's more connection than ever? There's more ways to go on your phone and connect, quote unquote, connect with someone. Yeah. But people are reporting records of being depressed, feeling lonely, feeling like, I read a study that someone was saying that, especially the younger generation, Gen Z, few of them, and I don't want to butcher the statistics on this, report having like a really close friend. Wow. Yeah. Like that to me is alarming.
Yeah.
Why? What is going on? Why are we, why are we stuck here? Is it that push for collaboration, or is there something else that's, kind of latent that we're missing that's driving this?
I believe it's also there. I believe we're at the peak of the resistance. I also I don't read news for the last 6 years.
That's probably for the best.
I don't know what's going on in the world, to be honest. I hear here and there the large events, but I don't know.
Good for you.
Yep.
Yeah,
Pandemic was that. I remember it was March 2020 when I said that's it. But I cannot. That's a wrap.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was great. So I believe also, but I also obviously we are through the project that we're creating together here. We have to understand what's going on with people and how people relate. And I also see another movement when people are now choosing more disconnection from technology, and they choose constant an honest connection with humans. And I see this here in Costa Rica a lot, and I see this and I understand that it might be a very different reality from the United States or from any other technologically advanced space, where being in these kind of different locations dictates what is your surrounding, and these surroundings kind of programs how you behave. So I honestly don't see this here, and I see this. I just was today with a person, and he's like, "Yeah, I turned off my phone a month ago, and I'm living for."
Wow!
I'm like, wow, this is amazing! And he just navigates. So and he asked me for directions to go for lunch, and we went on 5-minute conversation. I was like, you turn here, you go there. He's like, okay. This is
amazing.
This is a great conversation. I don't remember when was the last time.
Right? That you actually had to ask someone for directions or help.
Directions, This is so great. This was so fun, and we are having amazing conversations, and I believe this is happening a lot. The thing I also think and believe that when people still live in the cities, as much as crazy as it can sound, because cities are the product of that same system, right? Because people went to the cities because there was no more opportunities and whatsoever, which is now, I believe, what is happening. That there is a mass exodus of people from the cities because people now finally understand. First of all, thank you, pandemic, for giving us remote job,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
One of the good outtakes, and thanks to that, people are now wait a second, I don't actually have to live in the city because this is actually toxic and harming and bad for my health, mental health and whatsoever. And people are now looking into going into nature to live. And that's what we see a lot in Costa Rica. Costa Rica is now one of the leading places by immigration of people, including from the United States and Canada. And you see more and more people going towards the global south, as we can say it, right? Which is Guatemala, Mexico, Costa Rica, now countries like El Salvador, Honduras are appearing, Nicaragua, and more and more expat community or immigrants are coming. So it's another kind of wave of immigrants which are coming back because global south for somehow. Thank you, Global South, and thank you for how everything has unfolded. Maintain the soul, and people are coming there okay, here is a true. You can truly relate, and this is a weird kind of movement because there is still a lot of the influence of the mass culture. Let's say, still call it so. The mainstream culture is still so strong on young generation here in Global South that they are also actually want to migrate and follow the American dream. And they're going to towards that, and then people who have achieved the American dream and then realize that that's actually toxic, they're let me go back there. And then there's this circulation that is happening, and I believe that we through these kind of examples of even from what we're doing today with you, just sharing this more and more, I believe that people who are listening, that the seed is getting planted. We're gonna change this in the next, I believe, I don't know, maybe 10 years when people will be you know what, this is not for me. I see many people are already who don't have any social media accounts.
Yeah, me too. Oh,
and
me too.
and this is exactly this is amazing. I see countries. I hear from that, like from conversation with people that who are prohibiting social media for teenagers till they're getting reaching the age of 16 or 18,
exactly.
which I believe is a must.
Yes, exactly.
And I listened to this podcast with Jay Shetty, and he was with the person, I don't remember who it was, but he was explaining why it has to be prohibited, like smoking in public places. Right. And I was just like, that's truly so. And like the school that we don't call it a school, we have a Center for Conscious Learning that's called Arcadia within the ARC. Right. We just opened it 2 weeks ago after 2 years of active. Thank you so much. After active creation, it's based on Montessori principles. It's self-guided learning, and obviously there are zero screens. Kids don't have any interaction with technology. They have interaction with themselves, learning themselves, and following their inner plan. Why the universe created this child in this particular time, and we're just there supporting them in their authentic and unique growth. And the more and more we see that parents, they're not just agreeing with this, they're vouching for this. They're like, yes, please, we don't want them to be connected to, we don't want them to have tablets, we don't want them to have phones. And of course, the technology is here to stay, right? It's just like also, I believe it's not, the truth is in the middle, right? The technology, there's so much good in technology, so much benefit, so much with how we can use it, how we can have more space and time for ourselves, for creativity and authenticity and creation. But at the same time, we haven't yet, and I talking now for myself, I haven't yet, I'm just getting there, developed the healthy habits around technology, around social media. And what can we say about a child, right? Or Gen Z, the same, like when the brain is still forming, the consciousness is still forming, and they're constantly getting bombarded with this cheap dopamine.
Right.
And we are like, as much as I'm like listening to Andrew Huberman on repeat all the podcasts, but in the execution, I'm like, man, really? 40 minutes on Instagram? That's what we did today.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, I know I should. You hit the nail on the head. If it's hard for adults, we were dropped into technology. I'm 40, and I remember a time when there weren't any social media platforms still, and I think about this younger generation, all they've known is Instagram, Facebook. I remember in college just getting onto Facebook, and it was like this new thing, but we had this whole other life, this whole other way of communicating pre these social media platforms. Yeah. And how addictive they have become. And I think that what's happened is that we never really developed rules of the road. We're kind of just like drop these technologies, boom, 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 boom. Yep. Hey, they're profitable ads. Let's go. And how to actually leverage them without replacing your own voice, your intuition, your ability to make decisions. And you see a whole generation of kids where their whole identity is wrapped in social media because they never, had the opportunity or they never had the freedom to be able to discover themselves without social media. I think it's very interesting, the paradigm of, and again, I'm gonna sound like, an old millennial, like, oh, back in my day, back in my day, someone was telling me, it was so funny. I went to this party, I'm here in LA, and we went to this party, like this art party somewhere downtown, and I'm with my millennial friends, and we're all like dancing with their hands in the air, woo, and it was, there's other younger people at the party where those people, just doing all the things. And my friend's like, hey, how come no one's dancing with their hands in the air? And then another person's like, oh, sorry, Gen Z, I'm going to call you guys out. I don't know if this is true or not, but she's saying like, oh, Gen Z doesn't dance with their hands in the air. It's not cool. Wow. Oh, and, a lot of the, she was explaining that there's a paradigm where a lot of the behavior, and I, again, don't know if this is true or not, is curated for social media. So you don't, because anyone can have their phone out at any time recording. So you don't want to do things that, if it ends up on TikTok, you look silly. And I was like, wow, I feel like I lived my life in my, teens and 20s uncensored. I mean, we were just doing whatever you want because you never worried. You explored, you learned, you failed. And I was never worried that someone was documenting me, you know? And I was like, wow, what a paradigm shift. If my formative years, I was worried about going viral on TikTok for the wrong reason. Wow.
Yeah.
Like how that would have limited my self-exploration, the things that I did, you know, kind of my self-expression. And it's a really, I think it's a really unfortunate paradigm that we're living in.
I didn't know that. This is crazy.
Yeah, I did. I was like, what? I was just like, woo, you know, wave the hands in the air like you just don't care.
Wow. This is crazy. But this is true. It's insane to think how you would behave if you would think that you're constantly filmed your whole life. Wow.
Right.
And this is like, you know, the social media is a great example of a technology or something which system has created, considering people as consumers, and having the only objective as profit. And when there are no guardrails in place, and when we think now like, oh, how could we get to this point? But it's just like we got to this point because corporations like Facebook and whatsoever, like they were just going for it, and they were just going for it for the big buck, and they were just like, let's just create as much attention, attention connection to this particular app, and they have like this army of scientists and psychologists which are working on creating these things, which are obviously breaking all our barriers because they know all the science of how to make it, and this raises big questions over AI, and I don't know if we want to go there. Maybe no, but because I believe that's exactly what is happening, right? It is exactly what you see. Like there are no guardrails, and there are just like tons of companies which are running. A lot of money are splashing in because this is the next achievement, next big buck. And again, the same. Just we're playing with a much more challenging situation.
Right. Man, AI. Before we go to AI, I actually do want to quickly ask you about the genesis of the arc. I have so much to ask you about AI, but I want to quickly...
1 hour conversation, nothing about the arc yet.
I was like, wait, before we go down the AI rabbit hole, which I absolutely do because there's so much I want to unpack, I'm just curious, quickly tell us about the arc. What was the genesis? What was the moment? And I'm curious because as I've researched you and read about you, it sounds like you're just coming from a different place. I think of course it sounds like it was always there and within you. What part of you had to die to create the arc?
Yeah, a lot had to die, which was. Can we talk about psychedelics?
Yes, of course. Yes, we had a great episode actually on psychedelics on the podcast.
Great, amazing. Yeah. There were literally some moments when I was in psychedelic ceremonies when the parts of me had to die, which was an ego. I don't know, how much you're familiar, but you pass through this process which is called ego death.
Yes.
And that's what I went. Couple of times, and this.
Can you share, if you're?
Yes, definitely. Of course.
With psychedelics.
I had my strongest experience was with huachuma, which is San Pedro.
Okay. Yep.
And active ingredient is mescaline, and I was actually going out. I was living in Tulum back then. Okay. And in Tulum, we were center of separatism because we were all against vaccines, all against government telling us how we have to live, and we were standing for our own health choices. So I got 3 or 4 times COVID, which I was like, okay, I'm getting COVID, fine. I'm gonna be fine, and one was stronger than the other, different symptoms and whatsoever. And that particular was that I completely lost my sense of smell and taste. So I got into this ceremony without sense of anything, and and huachuma is it's not like ayahuasca. Ayahuasca you drink a little bit, but huachuma you drink actually a big glass. So I was and everybody drinks, and I'm like, okay, and I realized that I'm drinking. I don't have a taste. I'm like, okay, it's fine. People are like, oh, so they could not go for a second because they're like, ugh. I'm like, whatever.
You're like.
I'm like,
no
Exactly, and you know, I don't know, maybe something because of it. I was already going out of that COVID, so like I was like feeling totally fine, but still, you know, like not feeling any senses. And I was like, I'm not feeling anything, and people are like rolling on the ground, and they're just like, you know, somebody's crying, somebody's laughing. I'm like, I'm not feeling it. I'm going for the second glass. I'm taking second glass. I'm like, half an hour past. I'm like, I'm not feeling anything. It's just like a little bit. I'm like, I'm here to work, you know, and it was still that a lot of my past version of me was very much alive still. As much as I was thinking that it was not, I was still very much alive. And then I'm taking the third glass, and I understand that my sense of smell and taste came back. And it tastes like crap, and I'm like, oh my God, this tastes horrible. Maybe Huachuma activated something in my brain. I don't know how it worked.
Right.
I was like, it tastes horrible. And in that moment, the shaman goes like, let's do some rape, and like, you know, this tobacco that you inhale. And I inhale tobacco, and I understand that I'm just devastated in that moment. I'm crawling back to my place, and I'm falling in my consciousness as this dark hole, incredibly scary dark hole, where I start forgetting everything that who I am, and the most horrifying fears are coming in my life, which is like, I will go crazy, because, you know, whenever we go to these kind of things, I'm like, will I go crazy? Will I lose my mind?
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going crazy. And then the next one, I'm like, I'm going to stay like this forever. And then, and it's like, it feels like, you know, like a deep dark well, completely with round, and like, you know, I'm kind of falling and trying to grab into the stones of like, and these stones are parts of my ego. And it's like ego, and I was like, wait a second, who am I? What's my name? And I cannot remember. Like, and I'm trying to grasp these little stones, and I was like, wait, I was working somewhere. I'm from Kazakhstan, and I was, what is a country? What is Kazakhstan? And I was like, I'm speaking those languages, and then I realized that I don't think in languages, and then what is a language? And then I'm like, you know, I had a career, and then I have a family, I have a dog. Everything falls down, and I understand that I'm just dying and dissolving in this kind of nothingness, and at the same time, everythingness. And it was the most scarifying and horrible moment of my life, as much as it was the most beautiful moment of my life.
Wow, everything and nothingness at the same time.
And at the same time.
Yeah, really profound.
And honestly, I think if I wouldn't go through that, from all that, whichever I would be creating, and again, whichever the universe would be creating through me, would not be the same, because I would still be carrying this kind of I'm someone. I'm someone, and I think the more we stick to this I'm someone, the less we can create from the authentic place of like something has to appear. And I'm just a vessel that is making this happen, but I'm no one in this process. And that's, if I wouldn't lose that, I think I would still approach creating the arc with a lot of, I want to say ego, but it's such a word that again like creates a lot of stigma. Like because people might think like, oh, the guy is pretending that he has no ego. Of course I do. Everybody, we all have. It's just like to a certain extent how you can manage this thing, right? And how much humility you bring into the process, understanding that you're just a human grain, and you're just a grain of sand on an insane beach that's called universe, or a drop in this ocean that it just has its own vibration and movement, and you're just there contributing to the whole. And without that understanding, I would create the arc with a very wrong concept and with the wrong objective.
Right. What is your objective of, you know, if you were to sum it up, what is your objective with the arc? And I think one of the other things I want to ask is, I saw somewhere you were talking about, you know, hey, the arc is about meaning, not escaping. I think that sometimes people feel like, hey, I'm going to move to this community, I'm going to, you know, and I'm going to escape myself.
Yeah.
You know, they think they're going to escape their life, but really what they're meaning
themselves,
is, of course. Exactly. And you say, no, this is about meaning, not escape. So yeah, give me
I love that.
the vision, and then also, what do you mean when you say the arc is really about meaning and not about escape?
Yeah, I love that so much because it's true. A lot of people, and we intentionally don't call ourselves intentional community because a lot of people because that word became very much overused. Why? Because there are also a lot of people who were escaping, and you said it so right, and it's like people thinking that they are escaping the system, the matrix, the whatsoever, the divorce, the husband, the wife, the whatsoever, the unfairness of the world, and then they come to wherever they were escaping from, and they realize that they were escaping themselves, and they brought everything with themselves.
Yep. Yeah, wherever you go, there you are.
Wherever you go, there you are.
There you are.
Yes, and this is, and I think with the arc, we intentionally never talk about ourselves as this kind of a bunker, or like a plan B, because it is not. Because I believe what the meaning behind, as the vision behind, is that thinking that humans are going to go away from the cities. It's inevitable. It's going to be happening. We're going to be populating maybe other cities, but mainly nature. We are going to go back, and we're going back to nature. So first of all, when this process is going to be happening, we want to, like the arc, and we as the arc, we want to be this example of okay, so if humans are going to start living on the land, we actually can take already degraded sites that other humans have destroyed before us, and we can bring back the regeneration, and we can help the nature to restore the biodiversity, and we can actually be the part of this wildlife that is coming, and bringing other wildlife with us, rather than coming and doing again the same mistakes that the capitalism has made, right? Like cutting out the jungle and putting 3 palms and calling it an eco-sustainable development. Right. No, we can already, there's so much land that we have effed up already in the world, right? Like there are so many jungles, so many forests, so many degraded ecosystems, which we can come and be like, okay, what is asking to appear here naturally, and how we as humans, as part of nature, how we can contribute for this to appear much quicker, and how we can live in co-creation with this nature rather than against it, and how. And we are going to be many, we're going to live in nature, but this is nature can benefit from us living there. And the examples are insane, and we are now in the process of measuring how the biodiversity of soil has increased from us, because our site was deforested in 1966. Yeah, it was done, it was a pasture land since 1966, before it was a jungle. So, we are coming back now, and we're regenerating the soil, we're reforesting the land back, we're replanting the trees, and instead of just a young jungle, young forest, we're bringing all the productive trees. So we're planting fruit trees, which are going to give fruits in the next 10, 15 years. But we see already through the creation of the water systems and storing more fresh water on the land, we see how the nature is already doing its own work, and how all ecosystem is coming back. When we came to the land, we calculated 15 types of trees on the land. Now we have more than 400.
Wow.
And we got all sorts of different animals: foxes, coyotes, deers, jaguarundis, that's like small gray jaguar. We saw a puma. We have all sorts of snakes, small birds, big birds. And all this happened I came to this land for the first time almost 5 years ago. And within the concourse of this 4 years that I'm living on the land, and it's all unfolding in front of my eyes within these 4 years.
Wow.
Incredible. And it's mind-blowing, not just to be a witness of just to sit and see how every day the nature is doing its job, and the only thing that we are doing is just holding space, and we're just kind of pushing a little bit, and we're just okay, you're safe. Now you're safe. Just do your work. We're gonna just this is like a man holds a woman. Coming back to the same. Just holding Mother Earth, and just hey, I got you. And we are here when we're going to steward this place now. And the speed is insane, because we are conditioned to think that it's gonna take generations. It's not going to take.
Right. That's the story.
It's going to take in your lifetime, in the next 10 years, and it's just going to be so different. And And this is just one part of it, right? So yeah, I just went outside
No,
of
I
the
love
question.
that you said that because actually we saw that during COVID too. Like as humans kind of took a step back from all the go, go, go
Yes.
and civilization, like animals were coming out, birds that we hadn't seen. Like there was just this whole, reflourishing, that was really, really interesting. One of the things I've heard you say is that you use the phrase regenerative versus sustainable. I feel like everyone talks about sustainability.
Yeah.
What is the difference between the two? And then I'm also curious, like as you were building it, once you talk about regenerative and what that actually means, what were some of the things that you had to learn and get wrong about building a regenerative community?
Yeah, thank you. Well, sustainability, it's from the word, right? And it's like to sustain. It's like just like to maintain the states of the events as they are. And that word was a lot on the agenda in the 90s and the beginning of 2000s. And sustainability was a big thing. And it proved not to work. Because then if I have a glass which has that amount of water and I just sustain, that's what's going to stay. But I'm constantly sipping from the glass. Right. So if I'm not refilling the glass, it's never going to be like, so eventually it's going to get dry, right? So regeneration is, if we think about it, it's kind of repairing or restoring, right? It's just like bringing back, it's just like create the conditions conducive to life. That's like the official official explanation of regeneration. Right. And if you think about it, it's like, so like let's say educational system, and let's apply the same explanation. So like if you would sustain educational system, you would say like, okay, so the schools have to stay the same as they are now. Right. But do we think that this current educational system is contributing to the world that we're building? No,
right?
We
don't. No.
No, we don't. So the educational system requires regeneration. It requires fixing. It requires repairing, and this is what we're doing. So we kind of started imagining what requires regeneration. So healthcare was another thing. Right. So like the current state of events is that in healthcare system we were conditioned to give away our power because we were like, oh, you don't have innate feeling what is good or bad for your body, what is beneficial or not, and all remedies, natural remedies, are bullshit. But that pill from Pfizer, that is gonna work.
Yeah.
Right? And
we're all like,
okay, yeah. And they were buying it. It took, imagine how much it took to deprogram us and to make us believe that the pill, that this, that all that, like an injection and a vaccine or whatsoever is good rather than like being in nature, connection with humans. Giving what Mother Earth is taking what Mother Earth is giving you and alchemizing it into some sort of a remedy for your body, or for your mind, or for whatsoever, that is wrong, and that is like woo woo, and that is and this is right.
Right.
So regeneration is all about that. It's just like bringing it all back, and so healthcare is another thing, and one other thing is economical models. Like regenerative economy is something that we were going to be hearing more and more. It's just like, how do we do business differently?
What does that look like? What is especially I'm interested in the financial model. What does that look like? How do you deal with human phenomenon like scarcity, and competition, which we've been so groomed into, with a different financial system? Like, how do you create a financial system that actually works for the community? Yeah,
it's a challenging thing because we still operate in this environment when this one is collapsing. So I always say, like, if this is the inverse point, so the arc is the bridge between two, and we are still operating in this environment of capitalistic structures, but at the same time we are creating this internal bubble. So, for example, we are giving 30% of everything that the village is generating back to the community. So when you're becoming the member of the Ark, the resident of the Ark, you're immediately becoming the beneficiary of everything that we are generating as a whole, independently if you're working or doing something. So it's just because you're part of the community now, because you chose this village.
Right.
Another thing is that we're giving 10% of everything that we're generating for the infrastructural and different other improvements of the neighboring town. So we build the water infrastructure that got connected, that the ARC got connected to, but because we built this water infrastructure, all this town got connected to the potable water as well. So this is like an example of like, just like collaboration, what can be happening. And there are many examples like this. The same family from whom we got the land, inside of just purchasing the land from them, we also invited them to stay as equity partners within our project, within the ARC, so that we don't misplace the local population, but they stay with us for as long as the project goes, and that they benefit from whatever this land is going to be creating and producing. And so we kept them in the story rather than like, capitalism would come and that would be like,
see ya.
Buy, exactly, like buy, like let me screw you over, let me buy as cheap as possible from locals, misplace you and just like sell it as much as possible.
You're like, oh, good luck.
Yeah. And all this is only possible because also we don't have any investment capital. The ARC doesn't have investors. And this was the initial principle and the belief that we started. And I believe this is because we don't have this external influence, that's why we can make it happen.
I want to ask this, and I want to go back to the healthcare thing. I want to just ask, what are some of the challenges? You talk about the residents of the ARC. How are they interacting? What are some of the challenges of co-building and co-living? I could see, in theory, it sounds amazing, but we all know,
nuts and bolts.
Nuts and bolts happen. What are some of the challenges that you guys have had to overcome and you see within the community?
They always appear, and this is it's like, imagine like we were conditioned, all of us, to live very differently in this separation, and now we feel that we want to live differently, but we don't know how to co-live. So like we are kind of stepping in on all of us with a lot of expectations. There is still like, the ideas of like, I'm going away from something. Although we don't have at the ARC people like this, we mainly have people who are like, I'm done with that. I want to build something new. Right. So we kind of call it the community of creators and creatives. And I think the main challenge is still human nature. It's still challenging to rewire ourselves from people think that the community is kind of what can I get from the community, but not what I can give to the community. A lot of people are coming still with like, and not like, I don't want to say extractive mindset, it's not at all. But it's rather like expectation that the community has to be giving and doing a lot for them, rather than one like, less questioning, like, what can I do? And still it's always, it's a work in progress. Because then the only way forward is a complete transparency and openness in the conversation and in sharing. So we have like this kind of alignment circles every 2 weeks when we're talking openly and like we're sharing how we're feeling, how we're relating. And the main challenge is just us, our humanity. We're just humans, which we're hurt humans, and especially like we're more or less same age with you. I'm 42.
Yeah.
And I believe our generation, we are the generation that carries a lot of traumas. We're in this in-between generation. Like I feel the same as you. Like, we were like kind of not here, not there. Like we were like...
Exactly. Yeah, we remember the world being very different.
Very different. And we were like, we kind of grew up in that world, but then we spilled over to the world that was like very different, like when the technology started being very quick. And at the same time, we are the generation that carries a lot of traumas of parents who were overachievers, not because they wanted to, but because all the culture was kind of inviting them into it, and they were like either survivors or overachievers, which means that practically we were kind of left by ourselves a lot. And this is our generation, our main traumas, right, of our generation is non-belonging. That's happened because of our parents, and it's not their fault, no fault here. It's just like de facto, it is what it is, right? And that's what it's like. If you ask even ChatGPT, talking about AI, if you're asking ask ChatGPT, is like, what is the best way to communicate to millennials if you want to sell them something, and it will always tell you sell through belonging, because that's the main trauma you can trigger.
True. Yeah,
like,
exactly. And you see that now, like there's more of a push for experiential and community rituals. How do you think that community rituals will continue to evolve and be, really, we go back to community rituals as a right?
Yeah.
How do you see that becoming essential, over time?
I think I really want to believe that we're going into this direction when we are going to start living as in these tribes, and these tribes are, thanks to the technology, they are not going to be landlocked, and they're not going to have the separation. I more see it as like different circles co-interacting,
right.
And these rituals are, they have like very essential part, and the one, and I don't know which exactly like we can bring into, but like what comes to me is like the sitting around the fire,
Yeah, exactly.
And this is like, something which is so vital. This something is so magical. It's just like this circle, and when you just sit around the fire, and it's just like the conversations that pop up, and then just like, also like, circles around, like, around everything, when like, there is no presentation but rather than authentic relating through everyone being equal. This is so important, from which we haven't learned it. And honestly, another thing that when coming back to the question, when you asked me about like, what I had to leave behind, I'm coming from a mindset of overachiever, perfectionist, very strong systems, and my teams were always like, there were very little humanity in my teams. Looking back at myself, I'm like, wow, I was as much as like people loved that, but also again, people loved that because it's like, because it was, that's the culture, that was the culture, that's the conditioning.
Exactly.
And now navigating the arc is a lot for me personally. It's like, how can we make it humane? And humane means, this is such a great thing, that majority of our team are women. I love working with women. I love working with them.
Right. Yay, us.
Yay! I love it. I think, but it comes also with challenges that man mind can rarely understand. And we, in the last circle, now we have like regular team circles. Right. So we start with like Monday meetings, and we finish week with a team circle where we just check in, what's going on, how we're feeling. And the subject that came up, what we discussed, is just like, okay, we kind of have to and want to change the work. Not work. We don't say work. We say like create. So like creation environment,
right?
Taking into consideration the cycles in which women are living.
Can we?
and I was like, duh. I was like, I was like, obviously.
I was gonna say, I was curious, like how you reacted to that, but you just said, you're like, oh.
I was like, of course. It's like, it makes so much sense. So now, like, and it's not just like, now it became a normality that a person can take a leave when they feel bad because they're going like, but it's just like, it has to go much deeper, and that's what we're excavating now, like, because you're going through 4 phases, right? And in your, it's like, so like 4 phases in which like very much, if women are aligned, and we have mainly aligned women, which are connected to moon phases, which comes from the same thing that we spoke about, like, what is not wrong, but why the system as it is. But well, the system is acting is asynchronization with nature, because the whole system is based on sun calendar, when the whole nature is operating on moon calendar. Right. So including women, like, and of course men, we're less sensitive, but we also feel it. And the more, honestly, I personally, the more I realize and acknowledge feminine energy in me, the more I become sensitive, and like the moment it's full moon, I'm like, that's it, we're not sleeping tonight. And then, like you're gathering on the next day, you're like, oh, it's a full moon. But it's true, and I love it, and because I'm like, okay, I'm finally not a robot that just executes.
Yes, exactly. Wow. Yes.
And this is, and so like, you see like how much I had to leave behind, how much my ego had to die in order to get there. Because if you would apply this, if you would tell me 10 years ago something that I'm telling you now, I would say like, I will never be that guy. That is some bullshit that he's talking.
You're like, absolutely 0%. No, 0%, what are you talking about?
No. And I know that whenever people that from my past life gonna listen to this episode, they're gonna say like, "Whoa, that guy went bananas." He went out of rails. And the beauty of ego death, you know what is the beauty of ego death? Is that you don't care what people think. Because you're like, I go crazy and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, who gives? Wow. I'm actually, because you hit, I want to ask application, because you hit on so many interesting things, like acknowledging lunar cycles, talking about rhythm, which I feel like, I've been working on writing about this, because like, we're just so out of sync. One of the most beautiful things was when I was in Vietnam was the Red Zhao people and Sapa, the women, create this beautiful bath, and they only go out to forage for the materials in the bath during certain elements of the certain lunar cycle times. And it's like just the power of that. I'm curious, like, what are some other practices that anyone could put into their, if they're living in a city, if they are, whatever their circumstances, that they could actually implement some of this thinking. They could actually move to a more regenerative way of living.
Yeah.
Like, what are some maybe 3 simple things that people could actually start doing to actually move to a different place?
I want to say that first and foremost, spending time in nature.
Yeah, for sure.
That's first and foremost.
Yeah.
And it's just like observe, because without understanding, you cannot align with something that you don't feel, right?
Right. Exactly.
And especially women, you are connected independently where you live, but also like city brings its toll and the heaviness. Right. But like for us, for men, it's definitely something to to understand, and now there are so many materials, so many things that we can learn and just like get into. We like men to process everything through the head, but what I like is that the universe and nature is so perfect that whatever you read everything from the head, you're like, yeah, it makes sense, of course, obviously, duh. So I think this is the first and foremost and main thing. And then another thing is like authentic relating. And I think, I know that maybe it's already like kind of like that the language is heard. but what do we mean by that, right? It's just like honestly talking and hearing each other between genders. And not just listening, just like, oh yeah, okay, like we're gonna give it to each other to think, but truly understand what does it mean, like. And then for us, it's impossible for men to understand what women are going through, but just like apply logic toward like, man, there is like a whole thing into those 28 days that is happening with the body. Exactly. And it's just like, we would not be able to, we would freak out so much if we would just start bleeding once a month. Like, I'm like putting myself in those shoes. Well, any guy would be like, "The hell is going on?" But understanding that there are actually 4 stages to that, and it's just like that's like putting ourselves into those shoes and just like, okay, that's so like we can actually create the systems which are more humane and just natural. I think that's important. And another thing is, which is very important, is to understand that there are humans and not robots who are executing whatever they're executing, whatever they're creating, working on, and seeing the human behind, and not just like, oh, you're at a mental breakdown, take a day off. But exactly, why are you at a mental break? What's happening there? What's happening? What's... And just like to constantly check in, we start these circles from a check-in practice, which is very simple, and it's just like, hey, that's how I'm feeling today. And for anyone who is listening to the podcast and whoever will oppose and will tell, oh, it's going to be very hard in our office, in New York, we will never be able to do it. Guys and girls, we started with doing with circles with Nicaraguan field workers. Wow. Guys who, like men who worked all their life in the field. When we set them for the first time in the circle, the looks at their faces, they were like, what the hell is going on, man? They were like, these guys were not smiling in the beginning when they started working with us. They were like, this is some woo-woo shit. And for us taking them by the hand and showing through the example when we are, and I personally coming to the circles and I'm sharing so deep, like intentionally, that I'm going through the thing and that's what is going on. And then listening how they are giving themselves the space. I'm talking about imagine, it's a field workers from Nicaragua who are here to make money. They're like, and the closeness that there was there. And now you see the openness that is appearing when they're like just sharing the joy or not, or like what's going on in their personal lives. And they're looking forward to this now.
I love that.
If anybody will oppose and tell us that, what, it's not going to happen in our office because people will never go into this vulnerability. People want that. Everybody wants this. We want to be humans. We want to come and to be in the place of our creation, to burn with the desire for this community, because it is a community, right? Whatever it is, like office and like space or whatsoever. Just to relate to other humans, and this is going to be so healing on so many levels. And for men who are listening this and they're thinking that this is going to subtract from the working hours, because it is time, it is good 2 hours. The output, it's the same, like the regenerative thinking, I have very often these conversations with people debating with me if we can feed the world with regenerative agriculture. And I say always one thing, is just like when you are having regenerative agriculture, you don't have to grow that much food, because the food that you're growing is way more nutrient dense, so you don't have to eat as much as you're eating of conventional. So the same with this regenerative kind of environment in the office. Those 2 hours, don't look at them as a waste of time, but look at them as an investment, if a man wants to look like this, because other time that people are going to be creating, they will be creating from a very different space, which is going to have a much larger output.
Yes. Wow. I love that you put it in this way, because I've heard this argument, don't bring your emotions to work, or the whole paradigm, never cry at work, don't share with your colleagues. And work has become so dehumanizing. It's like you're supposed to go to this place where you spend a majority of your time and literally act like a robot, and that's supposed to be okay. And I agree with what you're saying. Like, if we actually invested in giving people space, allowing them the tools and the resources to be expressive, the amount of time that someone would spend crying in the bathroom, ruminating over whatever, and they could actually just express it and know that they were supported in the environment, the output would be dramatically different. And I know people will come after, we need to be, but I do agree with you, like that's that capitalistic mindset where it is, you're on the conveyor belt and you just need to keep outputting and outputting without any type of awareness for the human beings that actually need room to just be. And I find it honestly quite bizarre that, this isn't, it's almost taboo. Like I feel like if you and I were to go to an office, there are some companies, at one point in my career, I worked at Lululemon, and Lululemon always started with a clearing. And I had come from corporate, and I was like, oh, this is so weird, this clearing. I was like, what the heck? But it was one of the most powerful, and it changed my view on how you can actually nurture humans at work versus, I really struggle even with the term human capital. Yeah. It makes people feel very disposable at the same time. Very, very disposable. And, instead, how do we nurture human beings, and how do we think of them as creative conduits, creative out, and value their creative output, and just giving people space to be is so key.
Yeah.
I could go on and on about this. I do want to quickly talk about AI before we go into our true and false. Give me the tea on AI. Are you using AI? What do you think of AI? I have so many opinions of my own, but I'd love to hear where you.
I am. I'm using ChatGPT.
Okay.
I don't use any others. At one moment I kind of even subscribed to this. I kind of tried to jump on the train of this kind of that scarcity that now everybody is creating. That if you are not learning AI now, you're going to be jobless in 3 years.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god. And then I tried and I subscribed to a newsletter that was daily, and I realized that so much is happening. I was like, that's not. I will not be able to process that. I will not be able to understand it. But I want to believe that there is a sane relationship that can be created, and there are things that we are adopting, and there are things that I think we will never adopt. And ChatGPT has been useful a lot. It's a lot of ping-ponging, a lot of. For me, I believe I'm saving a lot of. The way I create is that I need to ping-pong ideas with someone.
Yes, me too. Same.
I cannot do it just by myself. It just becomes too much of rumination. So in this kind of ChatGPT helps me a lot. And I finally found how do you call it, a prompt how to make it so that it's not so it's not gaslighting you.
Gaslighting you. Me
Oh
too.
my god! Thank you.
Yes,
Finally. Finally it's like we're talking real. It's not oh my god, it's an amazing idea.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like it, and we use it. And we recently started we're just now implementing it. We started implementing an AI agent that starts talking with people when they have an initial interest with the ARC. And this company was like, they approached us and they're like, you have to give it a name and it has to pretend that it's a human. I was like, no, we're going to say that it's an AI, and we're going to explain to people why we're doing this, because we don't want to lie to people that it's just like, oh, this is John and he's, and then in the end of the day it was not John, and John doesn't exist. Yeah. So this model says like, hey, we have a lot of interest in the ARC, and for the sake of saving time of the team, I'm like an agent that I can reply to all your questions, and if you want to talk to a person, I will guide you immediately to a person. So we have now more than, 50, 60 people a day coming interested in the ARC in whatever extent. Somebody just wants to get a little bit of information. Somebody wants to have a whole conversation. And we just don't have a processing power for that. We're not financed by, that a good, huge sales department. We have 4 people constantly working and showing property and explaining, and I'm meeting with people, but that's a lot of work. So therefore we saw the benefit there, and we yet don't know. We're testing and trying how it's going to work, but I believe there are benefits to it, and I also believe we have to be so conscious about it, cautious, and it's conscious and cautious. It just doesn't. Sometimes I recently heard this thing yesterday. Actually, at lunch, I heard that some AI agents created a social media just for them.
I saw that.
I haven't read that, and I don't know that. Wow. So I'm buying from. I'm selling what I bought. And these people at lunch were sharing that, these AI agents now complain about their humans. I'm like, we know that there is a social media where AI is complaining about humans, and we don't find this disturbing. We're all fine about it, right? So, and this is This is 3 years after ChatGPT has arrived, right? So what is going to happen in the next 10 years? And that's where I personally see a potential harm. It's there are no guardrails.
Yeah, and right now it's a Wild West.
It's a Wild West. And the same Wild West as it was with social media, and we see how social media unfolded. And again, that's what we were talking about, right? Same is happening in AI now. Everybody are running towards this kind of idea of stronger, better models, or I believe there is a great scientist. His name is, and I don't want to like Edward Jablonowski. He's an MIT professor, and he's the one who's advocating for these guardrails for AI.
I've seen his work.
He's great, and I really like whatever he talks. I was listening to his podcast with Lex Friedman, and I was like, wow, it's truly so. And there were like questions when Lex asked, like, so how would AI kill humans? Because Lex is like, he's very much advocate for AI, and he's like, so how would you say AI would destroy humanity? Which Jablonowski answered so good, and he's like, if whatever I'm going to tell you how AI would, it's human who thinks. AI is so much smarter than me, and we don't know what it's going to do.
We don't know.
And
I love that answer too.
I love that so much.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm like, that's true. Like, we don't know what is it going to be, what's going to happen. And maybe, is it already happening? We don't know. Is it already somewhere in some system which is now creating some conditions which are generating more wars? How do we know?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think we reach a point where it starts to, it can get out, it feels sometimes like it's getting out of control. I hate to say that. And it's fascinating to see it unfold at this stage.
And, I had this great conversation with ChatGPT. In all honesty, I'm having a lot of amazing conversations. As I said, I'm very mental. I have a lot of conversations with ChatGPT that I just love sometimes. And I had this debate with ChatGPT about if AI is nature. And he was like, well, kind of no. And I'm like, well, if we think about if a bee is building a hive, is hive a nature? He's like, yes. I'm like, a human is building a server. Is it nature? He's like, well, if you think about it like this, it is nature, because humans are like intrinsic part of nature. So if humans have created AI, then you are nature in a sense. He's like, well, if you put it like this, it is. I am nature. So I'm like,
Really?
So I'm like, I don't know. It's a crazy concept to think about, because again, and I am the first advocate for like us as being intrinsic part of nature, but then everything that we create technically is nature.
Yeah.
The fallacy that we think, and that's a big fallacy, we think that we are the last species in the evolutionary development.
Yeah.
And we are not.
Wow. You said the quiet part out loud. I feel like we don't talk about that a lot.
No, because we want to believe that we're like, we're in the pinnacle of evolution, which we're not. We suck. We suck. The only difference that we have is language.
Yeah, we have been.
We're monkeys who know how to talk. There are so many more intuitive species. I have a dog, and the way dogs interact, I'm like, wow! In a second, in 1 second. From smelling, from this, that, they understand everything. Yeah. If it's an enemy, and the way, like, how whales are communicating, how bees.
Whales. Yeah, bees, incredible.
Incredible.
The sophistication of their communities, their social structures, how they communicate. It's really fascinating.
And I learned something recently about bees, that when a queen dies, and then there are like princesses. So the princesses, they all fly out from the nest, from the hive, and the men are like flying after the princess. So whenever and they're separated in let's say 5 groups. Right. So whenever whichever group of men caught their princess and they're bringing her back to the hive, so she becomes a queen. So those 4 intuitively know that they cannot come back anymore.
No way! I didn't know that.
And I even think that these 4 princesses are dying. I don't want to lie, but people can ChatGPT it, and let's talk now about us humans being like the most evolved species on Earth. Yeah. Come on. Our ego just programmed us in believing that we're the last ones. But if we think that humans are like everything that we have created is nature, so maybe there is another species that is going to appear and we just don't want to think about it.
Exactly.
And that species might be more caring about nature and whole rather than humans.
Right.
And that is a scary thing to think about.
Wow. Wow. What a note to transition on. I agree with you. I've actually thought about this a ton. And I think that, yeah, it's humans, we're afraid to acknowledge it. You know, like we want to think that we are the pinnacle. What I want to do is quickly move us to our true or false. I've got some juicy true or false questions for you that I can't wait to ask. So I'm going to read off the question and just feel free to answer, you know, true or false. Mm-hmm. And if it's a maybe, feel free to say maybe and like let me know why you think it's a maybe. So Let's dive in. Regenerative living is more about mindset than land.
True.
Okay. Decentralized villages will replace traditional neighborhoods.
True.
Ooh. Coming in strong with the truth. Okay, all right. Most people are scared of true freedom.
Yes, true. Yes.
Really? You know,
Yes.
actually, I could see that. I was reading an article. Anyway, I don't want to derail it. But I was reading an article.
I love it, but we can come back to this question.
Now I'm breaking the rules. Wait. Wealth and nature can coexist without guilt.
True. Wealth, like financial wealth?
I think, what do you think of, I'm actually curious, what's your definition of wealth?
I don't think it's financial wealth only, but financial wealth is part of it, but it's wealth in all senses of like abundance so I think true, nature is naturally abundant and wealthy.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree. My definition of wealth isn't just monetary or current. Yeah. It's, you know, it's abundance. Yeah. Okay. People are more burned out from isolation than from work.
True. Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, I can see that. Regenerative villages will become the next major asset class.
Asset class. I have to understand more asset class. What does it mean to say? But maybe, yeah. Maybe.
Like financial asset class, you know, like stocks, bonds, you know, real estate.
I really hope no.
You're like, say it is so.
I really hope no. I really hope we won't commoditize it, you know?
Yeah. Me too. Investment-driven housing markets are collapsing under their own weight.
True-ish.
I love the ish.
True-ish. I think it's true in the very beginning of the process. You know, it's a long, but yeah.
This last one, speaking of wealth, the next form of wealth is belonging.
I would go into false because it's not only belonging. I think it's not. I think wealth is belonging in a lot. Yes, it's a big part of it, but I also believe it's also healthy eating.
Okay.
Not just like organic eating that from everyone, but
Thank you.
But healthy eating from the food that we grow ourselves, you know, and healthy relationship with nature, healthy relationship, and belonging involves healthy relationship with each other for sure. Yeah. And I also believe it also involves purposeful lives.
I love that. I love that you called out. I was talking to someone the other day about hustle wellness culture. Like we're in this like hustle wellness, like, you know, I got to go to Erewhon and buy the thing and then, you know, do the, like, I was like, it's so wild. It's so overwhelming.
It became commoditized.
And we're just constantly, anyway, I digress. I want to move us to our rapid fire here. We've got some spicy questions for you. Would love like a 1 or 2 sentence answer to some of these spicy questions.
Yes.
So the first one is a sign that someone is spiritually misaligned.
And a sign, I feel it's a feeling. It's like I wouldn't Or like how people can measure themselves if they're spiritually misaligned? Is that the question? Or if like how you see the people?
Someone, you're like, you know what? They're just,
Uh-huh.
yeah. You're like,
I think it's you feel it energetically. It's not something like it's not.
I agree.
The body. It's not how they. It's like I feel it very much straight away. And we are again. Sorry, no, I'm gonna go like these are they're supposed to be.
Yeah, I know, but like but this one is actually a spicy one on purpose.
I believe the traumas that we were brought in, like our generation, we also were brought in to be a lot of like empaths, and we're blessed with this to feel other people, and this is truly a blessing, So I think you feel it straight away when person is just not there. Their motivation, their approach to life, their motivation is in the wrong place.
I'm breaking the rules, but I want to add this. It's really interesting to me, especially living in Los Angeles. No offense, and I'm not saying I'm perfect at all, so don't take it this way. But I do see people who are like, I'm doing the work and I'm spiritual. But then you meet them or you see the way they interact with the world, and it is jarring. There's such a disconnect from what is coming out of their mouth versus the way that they're showing up. And I always find that to be really, really interesting. Of course, people have their bad moments. People are human. But when it's consistent, I find it, I'm fascinated by that. I think it's very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, I digress. The most overrated idea about living off the land.
Overrated idea. The most overrated idea is that you can magically go on the land and just like you can grow food. It's a science. You have to know so much. The overrated, like we have this magic, and you see like a lot on Instagram. I'm laughing at this post, like. From 1 acre of land, you can feed a family of 10 people and live happily ever after. I'm like, who writes these things? Like, try to grow a potato, and 1 carrot. Like, come on, guys. Like, you have, truly organically, and so I think it's really like overrated ideas that we don't know how to do that. We're very disconnected from that, but with certain help, it can happen.
Love that. Next one, a ritual that you swear by.
A ritual that I swear by. Many. I think it's inevitable. I spending time with my dog. As much as it sounds
what kind
like.
What dog do you have? I love dogs.
I have a street dog. He's from Mexico, and it's completely the universe brought us together for me truly understand love, and I think for him as well. And this is I start the day with him and I finish the day with him, and it's just like. I just like the immense gratitude and in every my meditation, I'm like. I'm so grateful for that this being has chosen me as his steward, and we are just walking this life together, and how much we can give this love to each other, and it's just insane. And definitely a ritual like my mornings are for me. Like if I don't start my mornings, I'm very a routine kind of guy in the morning, especially. So if I don't do everything that I'm, it's like a warm water with lemon, my probiotics, brushing teeth with my left hand, cold shower, meditation. Yeah, there are like things that I'm it's like papaya seeds on empty stomach, and all of these things. If I don't follow something, then I feel kind of misplaced during the day. I'm addicted to my morning routine.
I love papaya seeds on an empty stomach. I haven't.
It's if you should be careful if you're women when they're pregnant.
Okay.
Papaya seeds are very strong. Actually, it's a great remedy if you also dry them and use them instead of black pepper. So you just refill them. Yep. So they're very strong in antiparasites, and they help cleansing the gut. So if you have troubles with constipation, it's amazing. The best way to chew them, they're horrible to chew because they truly taste like black pepper. So imagine chewing a lot of black pepper is like not. I just swallow. It has less effect, but still daily, and especially living in the tropics, it's like parasites and things. It's just like great remedy.
Interesting. Gotta check that
Nature has all the answers for us.
All the answers. All the answers. And next one, a lesson you learned the hard way.
Trust. Don't easily trust. Yeah.
Interesting. One belief about success that no longer serves you.
That money can only be made in a dirty way.
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot of people have that money belief. Like, oh, you have to like screw people over.
I had it for so long, and that created a lot of unhealthy relationship with money, and that created a lot of conditioning where like in the moments of spiritual growth, and like disconnect. Oh no, money. Oh. I'm sitting here on top of the mountain meditating. What money? So it resulted a lot on me, multiplied on X patterns of unworthiness when not understanding how to charge, how to talk with people about money, and multiplied on this kind of we carry a lot of very heavy programming around money.
Yeah, we do.
And intimacy. And intimacy in the sense of sex and our desires and openness, and it's a whole another episode that we can make.
We need to have that.
I'm happy to do that.
You need to come back. We have so much more, and I know they're almost at time. Man, so many more things. I want to ask you a few more rapid fire questions. That intimacy one, wow, we need to do another episode on that. So much to unpack there. I'm curious, what's a wellness trend that you actually like?
I love the wellness trend of people going into saunas. I love it.
Me too.
Sauna saved my life. Something like 15 years ago, I was on a mental breakdown and it was lowest point of my life, and it really saved my mental health. And I'm bringing back this routine into my life. And also, I love how it became playful. How it's. How the same Gen Z, and I really have the faith in that generation. And I don't know, I mix them now, Gen Z or another generation, but I really have faith in them. Because we are very troubled and hurt, and they are, believe, the ones that I really love that people stop drinking alcohol. I don't drink alcohol since I was 25. Wow. My father passed away from alcohol. He was alcoholic for 13 years. So since I was 12, at 25 he passed away. So I stopped drinking after a month that he passed away. And I really believe that there is a larger evil behind the promotion of alcohol in the world. I'm a complete conspiracy theorist there, where I believe that there is an evil behind that and pushing people towards that, just to numb people as much as they can. And it's the same forces that were trying to prohibit psychedelics for so long. So I really love seeing that Gen Z or new generation, they drink way less, and it's I'm like, yes. So that saunas and cold plunges, and I also what I like that wellness stopped being performative in a sense of in a sense of sanctity. They were this time maybe something 3 years ago, it stopped feeling when wellness inevitably was these goddesses walking on land. And I lived in Tulum. I've seen it all.
Yes, I'm sure.
I've seen it all. White clothes and the glow and the language and oh my God.
This ethereal,
oh my God, and just and the whole conversation around it, I hear you, my dear soul.
Yes.
Can we just be humans? Can we just and I love that it became just it's a part of my daily life. I'm just a human being that's just living healthy. That's it.
taking care of myself,
taking care of
mindful,
myself, it's just like became
connecting.
like part of my life, and that's who I am. I'm a healthy human being. Oh, thank you so much.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I feel like we're realizing that it's not about doing more or buying more. You know, there's wellness is different. You know, it's nature, it's sauna, it's community, it's those types of things actually contribute to a life that feels, quote, you know, well by wherever you are in the journey. I want to ask you one last rapid fire question. So, one thing you think that modern society gets totally wrong about happiness?
Well, nothing has changed, and it's not definitely me who said that and who thinks that, and I'm just following, and I truly believe it's so, that we believe that happiness is somewhere there, and it's going to happen in some certain moment in time if I or a person is going to obtain certain qualities or amount of money or amount or relationship or whatsoever, you know, that happiness is some destination, that like conditional destination.
Right,
Whereas we just have to get back to the idea that happiness is there. It's just like you, like that fact that you are alive, that we're alive, and this rock that's flying through cosmos, and it's all like that is like in the dense energetical fields. Like what? Like
Crazy.
if you're not happy in that, nothing's gonna make you happy.
Even just the probability of you being born. Like sometimes I think about that, I'm like, wow, craziness.
Wow.
Like craziness, you know?
And then there is I think it's also like, you know, when we are start thinking too much about us, that's when we become unhappy, because like, you know, that's like you and how people relate to you and how somebody looked at me, blah blah blah. Who are you? For a moment, like, you know, like the universe that created you in this particular moment in time, in this particular place, and the shadows and gifts and that it gifted to you. Why has this happened? And that's the happiness when it's right there, when we understand why this has happened, and we just like discover that, because like then everything is a miracle.
Everything's a miracle. I love that. Oh my goodness. We have our next section, but before we do, I want to do a time check. Do you have
I do.
A few more minutes? Okay. I could talk to you forever. I want to make sure we go because I have some other goodies to ask you. Okay. So we're going to transition to breaking down wild trends. So what we do is we scour Instagram, TikTok, and we try to figure out like what are the wild trends that people are talking about out there. And I've got 3 interesting ones for you. So this first one, people have been selling these 10-minute villages. Have you seen, I don't know if you've seen this on TikTok, in micro homesteads on TikTok. So there's like these, you know, hey, you can quickly put up a village or your micro homestead. Do you think that this is reality or fantasy?
Fantasy. No, it's reality. Really?
No. Why do you?
They're selling
have
micro
my thoughts on
home villages.
Yeah.
On TikTok.
Like, on TikTok, you could say, oh yeah, here's that you could buy this 10-minute village, and you have your own. You know, you set up, and you know, boom, 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 there you go.
Really? I want to see that.
Yeah, I'll just send you this. I know, I saw this too, and I'm like, to me, it misses the point, to be honest. It misses the point. It's like, you know, commodity thinking again, you know, and I love what you were saying, like community, connection, regenerating the land, trying to actually like grow a potato, or, you know, like it actually takes time and thought and, you know, connection, and this shouldn't feel like another like McDonald's thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I just like whipped up my community. Like there we go.
Exactly.
That's not the point, you know?
No.
Anyway.
No.
The other one I keep seeing are these AI integrated eco villages. So going back to our conversation a bit about AI, is this a legit new model or digital utopia marketing?
I think it can happen to a certain extent. I saw this not meme, I don't know, like a little picture thing when there was like kind of humans and robots and AI can coexist in perfection kind of. And there was like people just hanging out and talking, and robots were cutting the grass and something like, you know, there were like some sensors that were watering. And in a sense, we are doing this. So, like for example, our and I know that it's supposed to be quick. I'll try to make it quick. But our irrigation system, for instance, we're looking at and that was manual. Now we're changing it to something with the timers that has a solar panel and that has. It's kind of, in a sense, small little intelligence on its own way, where it will liberate a lot of the time of our guys so that they can do other work. And this is in the integration of certain technology. So whenever there is going to be appear some sort of an AI which is going to measure the soil, and depending on that, it's going to utilize water better. For example, I just invented it. I'm just measuring it on ourselves. I would say yeah, why not? Let's try, because then maybe it's a good thing. The other thing again is other guardrails, or maybe this AI will just destroy our soil whenever it will decide to.
Yeah, that's the true facts. Yeah, that's the thing. It's weighing the, there's benefits, but then what are the controls to keep, things moving in harmony? I want to ask you this last one. Sovereign living influencers. I don't know if you've seen some of these people on, TikTok, Instagram. They're selling this idea that freedom requires total disconnection. Do you think that this is helpful or harmful? Harmful.
I don't think that freedom requires disconnection. I think it is staying connected. Is that we and this is the escapism, right? That we were talking about. It's just people who are selling these ideas. The idea that it's not about leaving hippies in the jungle anymore. It's not about running away from the society. It's not about jumping out and not being part of that. But how can you have that internal backbone so strong that that you're free, that you can actually bring the positive change into the world from the sane and healthy foundation.
Right.
So
right.
Love it,
love it, love it. What we're going to do next, we're going to jump into the Reddit rabbit hole. So we specifically go to Reddit and we curate some questions and subreddits that relate to a bit of what you're doing or your area of expertise. So gosh, we have some really interesting ones that I can't wait to ask you. This first one was found in the farming subreddits. We're going to get a little bit into the nitty-gritty about farming. And this person asks, what are some problems facing regenerative farming and agriculture? Are there specific reasons why farmers aren't switching from conventional to regenerative agriculture despite the evidence that shows that regenerative agriculture, improves the quality of soil and outputs produced? What are your thoughts about that? What are some of the problems that you're seeing, in the way that you guys are, approaching regenerative farming and agriculture, and why do you think that people aren't switching over?
I think people are switching. It's just not happening from the majority of if we take all 100% of farmlands in the world, less than 3% are regenerative agriculture. So this is disturbing, but at the same time, the growth that the farmlands are converting into regenerative agriculture is pretty substantial from year to year. It's very small. The thing is you're going from 0 and then you grow to 1%, and then you grow and that 1% you grow 50%, but it's still 1.5, so it's a very small in relative to the rest. Another thing is that of course Monsanto is there, the glyphosate is there. There are strong powers that don't want, as we were talking, right? Wet soap.
They're like this.
They're like this, and that's happening. I believe it's the demand is creating the offer. So the more we are going to be as purchasers buying, we're voting with our money for the future that we want to see, right? So the moment we're not going to be going to, I don't know, whatsoever supermarkets, but we're just going to the farmer markets and just going to be when we're incentivizing the farmers to grow organically, they're going to be doing it. It's not an easiest business. We started our farm in June 22. We have 15-acre farm with 4 acres by intensive production, and the rest is a fruit forest. And this is the first year that we're starting monetizing. And as much as people want to buy, but it's very challenging work. You know, it's a lot of like to grow the biodiversity, to improve the soil, to improve the seeds. Obviously we're not using any fertilizers or anything. So at the moment we recently had how do you call it, like a mushroom, not a mushroom in English, I'm thinking in Spanish, not a mushroom, but it's like it's like a plague. Yeah, fungus, thank you.
Yes,
fungus. And it ate, we were at around like 20% loss of our harvests always due to like, it's a normal thing. And we came down to 50% because this fungus ate a lot of vegetables, and we're reacting, we're changing it now. But this is the thing, it's the fungus was in the soil, so we had to like change a lot of the soil. So like conventional agriculture, we just like, spill over chemicals and you just like kill it all. But when you're doing it with authenticity and integrity, you just cannot afford to be doing something like this. But so we're very susceptible to so many different factors. You have to understand how to work with nature, and a lot is happening. So it's going to happen. I believe we're going to eventually come to regenerative agriculture globally. And again, we won't need as much farmland as it is now. But at the same time, there are also other forces which in the world which are like people who think that like indoor farming is better because they want to grow food indoors, and this is very popular now in Europe, which is like the investments are looking into like new ways. Because the farming investments it's not very profitable. It's not like, so like as long as we're not going to change our mindset about the energy of money that we're investing, if we're expecting like, it's an investment with 5x in 10 years. Regenerative agriculture is never going to give you this. This is like very slow money, if at all. So therefore, investors are looking into these new models, how they're going to create food and like, get rich more quick. So it's going to happen. It's going to take time.
Yeah, it's going to take time. And actually that's really interesting that we're on this, because the second question that we found in the Reddit rabbit hole was in the agriculture subreddit, and someone actually asked, is regenerative farming being oversold as a climate solution? What do you think about that?
Oversold as a climate solution? I don't think one has to do with another, for sure. But I don't think it is oversold, and I don't think it is a climate solution, to be honest. I don't think it's oversold as a climate solution. Why? Because, again, it's true that it is contributing logically, right, to the conventional farming. And imagine, like, for everybody who's listening or watching, what is conventional farming, right? It's like it's a monoculture, which people are clearing the land, and then it's a monoculture with a lot of glyphosate or whatever fertilizers and everything, which destroys any biodiversity in the land, which degrades the soil, and therefore you're creating these huge spaces of land which don't have life practically.
Yeah.
So whenever there is no life, then there is obviously climate disruption in that. So of course, if you bring permaculture or syntropic farming that traditionally has different species growing next to each other, and then you kind of pushing biodiversity towards being there, then of course it's just nature, and then there is way more self-regulation. So there is definitely, of course, climate solution, but I don't think it's oversold as a climate solution.
Very interesting. This next one, was actually in the real estate investing subreddit. This one very, very interesting. Someone asked, what is the realistic future of fractional ownership?
Oh.
So they go on to say, I had never heard of fractional ownership until a few months ago when it was brought up to me. It's been explained to me enough times that I feel like the people explaining aren't hearing themselves. You're buying real estate, not time. Sure, but it's still ultimately divided up by time. The appeal of having part ownership in an assumed to be expensive piece of property makes sense, especially in comparison to the price of a timeshare that you use once a week out of the year. So this person's talking about the timeshare, but I know you guys talk about fractional ownership too, so I'm so curious on your thoughts.
Yeah.
They go on to go and say the rest, though, seems like it has the potential for a massive headache. What happens when the multi-million-dollar home inevitably needs repairs and all the owners need to agree on what to do and what needs to be done or who to hire, or when multiple owners want to use the property in the same time frame, or if you decide you want to sell your portion, who realistically would want to buy your 1/4, whatever it may be. So the person concludes with, what is the future of a high-end timeshare that's not a timeshare? The reason I'm bringing this to you is because I know that you talk about fractional ownership, and I'm just curious on what you think is the future of fractional ownership.
I think it's now, so like to explain it maybe to the audience that doesn't know, right? So like fractional ownership is the model of owning an asset in portions. And these portions can be whatever. And this asset can be anything. It can be, and it normally is applied to high value assets like a plane or a yacht or a mansion or I don't know what, or like maybe even jewelry, I don't know.
Right.
Could be.
Right.
Why not?
Yeah. You see like those companies, like handbag companies that, I guess it's not ownership, but you kind of, people share amongst each other. Like I've seen that kind of thing too.
Yeah, like could be. I'm just now thinking about like some like expensive, maybe like jewelry with diamonds, and it costs, I don't know, $10 million, and you're gonna be wearing it once a year. So why would you why would you pay 10 when you can just pay 1, and then between you're like just wearing it once a year. That's it. Actually, a great idea. So,
yeah, that is. I was like, wait a second. Does that exist?
I don't know, but if it doesn't, we should make it.
Yeah, right? Done. New business started.
Yes. So in real estate, and why we have created fractional ownership is that we understand that Santa Teresa is a transient place. A lot of people who live here, they live in between several places, and they like to be free. They like to not have fixed time when they want to stay here or there. They always travel between places, so they kind of want to also sometimes make the first time real estate investment, and they want to generate return on their investment. Another option is that sometimes people like have, I don't know, $40,000, and with this they're like, okay, what can I buy on $40,000? What realistically can I buy that it generates some sort of a return? And then also people don't want to deal with a lot of things that this person was asking of, like property management or whatsoever. So we have created a fractional ownership as a model of entering into the ARC ecosystem, and we find it very successful. A lot of people joining it, and they love it. We're now building our first project. And in general, for the future of fractional ownership, I believe it's great. It's not the ultimate first model of your first house, obviously.
Yeah.
It is not created to be so. It's like more of like your vacational house or your second or third, or your tool for your real estate investment. Because if you need a place where you're going to live constantly, then obviously you cannot be sharing this place with somebody else. Yeah. But as a second or third place where you're living or you're spending time, that is a great thing. I always measure things on myself, kinda. And I really don't like to deal ever with any sort of maintenance or any sorts of hospitality relationship if I have a property, or so like I would prefer somebody to be taking care of everything and just paying them out, and just like so fractional ownership is this. It's like there isn't always an administrator. a management company, and then there are like some amount of people who own things. So that practically you're giving or entitling this administrator to take care of the property, and they're taking care of all the headaches, and you're just coming and spending time and living. And whenever you're not there, this administrator is renting out the property for you, and you're making return on your investment. So that's more or less how it works, and I believe it's not the ultimate future of real estate, but it's one of the models. And there was also a question about selling and differentiation with timeshare. It does have the same model, where like you're ultimately buying a fraction of something, and this fraction allows you to spend a certain amount of time on the property which you bought.
Right.
So let's say you're buying 1/12 of the house, so you can stay 1 month a year in this house. And then the difference with timeshares, that timeshare you did not own, and that was the scam of it. You did not own the real estate. So real estate would grow in price, but the price of your share, of your timeshare, was not growing. So let's say you buy something for $10,000, then you want to sell it in 10 years, and it's still $10,000.
Right.
But then in 10 years, the inflation has eaten a lot of that. The real estate has grown, so that the company that owned the real estate, they still own real estate, but they kind of now having an asset through which they can leverage and get the capital and whatsoever, or sell the asset, and you're kind of staying with nothing and actually losing the money.
Yeah, you're losing, right, exactly.
The difference with fractional ownership is that you're actually owning part of the company that owns real estate. So the more real estate grows in price, the more, whenever you're going to sell your share, the more your share costs. So if you bought a house, let's say that costed $100,000 between 10 friends, and you all chipped in $10,000, and then in 5 years you're selling it, and now it costs $200,000. So each share now costs $20,000.
Right.
So
you get
that's the ultimate difference.
The appreciation, which is key, in wealth building and
exactly, and real estate investment.
And real estate, right?
Yeah. So that's
I love it. I want to ask this last one. Actually, speaking about living in community, this last one is really, really interesting. Someone posted in the Simple Living subreddit, communal living experiences. So they say, "Hi, Simple Living. Have you ever lived in a commune, eco-village, or communalized shared housing? Was it as you expected? Should we consider a return to communal living as a society, or just as members of the Simple Living subreddit, to combat the divisive and isolating effects of the US, UK, Western dream to own property," so speaking of owning property, "spending our lives maintaining it and living in a more or less nuclear unit? Or is communal living romanticized and overhyped, frequently dominated by petty politics and an introvert's nightmare?" I thought this was very interesting.
That's a very good one.
We're ending on a big note with this one.
On a big note. There is a little bit of everything, and I definitely want to say people have to do their research. We're coming back to something so essential as just like day-to-day living, and remember about this kind of inversion point, and I don't know what is the ultimate and the best way how people are supposed to live. I believe I always say, as many doors as many keys. But I truly believe that there are enough people who are choosing, and more people who are choosing to live by knowing their neighbors and actually co-creating something. We recognizing, and remember I told you, we don't call ourselves an intentional community, because I believe intentional communities, the name was harmed a lot in the process, and in general community was overused. We are a village, and I believe villages is the way, and a village is it's not necessarily that you're friends with everyone in the village.
Right,
Village,
right.
like village is just like you live together, you know your neighbors, you understand there is a social dynamic happening. Communities kind of automatically implies we're all living in peace and paradise, which is bullshit.
Yeah, totally.
It's
Why
like
do you
no.
call that out? I'm so glad because people have this like utopian. Oh, I'm going to live in the community. Everyone's going to be friends. We're going to sing Kumbaya.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not true.
Dance around the fire, have cacao
Yeah,
ceremonies,
yeah.
whatever.
Exactly.
That's not going to be happening. Like the
No.
human dynamics are there, but and I think we call ourselves a village for creators and creatives, and we are entrepreneurial village. So remember, I was sharing how we're splitting the profit among all residents, and we have objectives and mission that goes outside of Costa Rica, outside of the Arc. We're planning to make our own guest houses in the world. We're doing the Arc trips. We're growing global community. We are planning to help others to build villages similar to the Arc in different places in the world. We all have, to a certain extent, our role, and we all play different roles, and this takes away a lot of dynamic from interrelational dynamic. Because then immediately you're like, I'm creating something, so I don't have to. Leo Tolstoy, a very famous Russian writer, was saying all problems in the head are from doing nothing.
Yeah. I love that Tolstoy. Yes, that Tolstoy quote.
Yeah, and so so that's the truth, and that's like all problems in the community, like, because community, the only thing that communities are doing, they're talking about communities. And the more you're gonna go in the nitty-gritty of it, like, oh, so how Sarah is going to relate to John now? Oh my God. Let's just please start building the world that we all believe in, and and that's just like it's human conflicts and human things are all going to be sorted out. It's just like we definitely have to work on ourselves as personalities, as personal growth and collective growth. Yes, we have to understand ourselves as part of a whole and nature and whole of each other, and develop compassion towards each other and to ourselves, and just constantly create and co-create. And then it's going to remove so much already. And I'm not saying that it's going to eliminate it completely, but it's going to remove so much.
Agree. I couldn't agree more. Love it, love it, love it. Our final segment. Oh my goodness, it's been such a treat. I can't believe we're at our final segment. I want to ask you, what is in the bag? So we have you showcase something that is special to you, something that you use in your work. So, what's in your bag?
It's a very simple thing. I have this pendant. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It's a very simple pendant.
Yeah.
It's a very simple pendant, and it has
Rating, right?
Yes, it actually and it says it's a barcode, to be honest, and it says integrity. And every day that I wear it, I look at it and I'm like, integrity. And it's my everyday reminder of my main value that I develop in myself every day, and the main value that I value in people. And it's just like, it's just like integrity, and it's just like something that is like my compass and my personal hack of everyday life.
I love that. I love the visual reminder of it, and like using it to kind of ground yourself in that value is a North Star. That's beautiful.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Marat, where can people find the ARC online? If someone's interested in getting involved, what are some steps that they can take to get involved? And what else are you guys working on? Like, what other new cool things do you have?
Well, we are definitely at our website. I think is the best way to connect with us. It's thearc.world. We have the same Instagram handle, and I think these are the two best ways to communicate with us. We're working on so many things. It's another great conversation that I always having with ChatGPT is like, if a modern Noah's Ark would exist, what would it have? And it constantly gives me interesting ideas what has to be included into the project.
Right.
And one of those, as I said, we just recently opened our Center for Conscious Learning. We are opening a music recording studio, which is going to be fully analog.
Wow,
we're working with an
cool.
amazing 6 times Grammy Award winning music engineer. His name is Russell Elevado. and he's working fully on analog equipment. And our second co-founder is Jeff Claes. He's from Belgium, and he's also working only on analog equipment. So we want to preserve the sound, the beauty of music and the sound on tapes. We're working on our wellness and spa and our co-creation lounge. We're working on Arc Ventures, which is going to be, we don't like to say accelerator, but people don't have a better word yet, for like regenerative startups.
Okay. Oh, cool.
And we're working on functional medicine health center, which is going to combine ancient wisdom together with scientific advancements. So we could prove to people that this type of living can have measured results, and actually just by living in community, in connection, in eating from the land, working with the land, right. Being in the sun, swimming in the ocean, can actually improve so many all like the biomarkers and your HRV and all of those things.
Yep.
And we know that many people won't believe till something is measured. That's how we are wired, especially men.
Yeah, no offense to you guys.
No offense to us guys, no offense, that's just how we are. So we want to be measuring that, and we want to show that you don't have to apply all fancy tools, wellness things, toys.
So true.
You just have to take care of the base, and the base is already going to be great.
I love, so wild that you ended here, because I actually have been writing about this. One of the things for Wellzest, I created a show called In the Name of Beauty, where I traveled around and tried different modalities, different ancient technologies, and it's incredible the profound impacts of like sauna or water, just swimming in the ocean. Like you see people who swim in the ocean every day, and they're just wow, heat, as you're talking about, sauna, rhythm, community, like those types of things, and being in nature and plants, and having that as a foundation is key. And I think that we've forgotten that foundation is the first part. Like you can't just keep trying to add on things and you haven't created that foundation, and as you checked the box and all the things that I believe too. It's exactly that.
And
sunlight,
and there is a big one, and if you want to research that, is working with your hands with the soil.
Yes,
and the microbiome that you're getting from the soil, that gets into your body through the food that you're eating with your hands.
Right.
And it's just like how it just like affects your microbiome in your gut, and how all that is going and affecting, of course, your brain and serotonin production and everything. This is huge. Amazing.
I need to do more that needs to be added to this writing journey I'm on. And
it's a whole chapter that you're opening for yourself. I'm happy that you'll have it in your book.
Amazing. Marat, this has been beyond a delight. I feel like I could talk to you forever. We'll have to have you back on so we can talk more about all the things.
We have so many things to talk
about. So many things to talk about. Wow, I'm just so grateful. Thank you for just inspiring us with a different way of living, and doing the work in order to surrender your ego to create something that will have lasting impact in the world. So grateful, and just thank you for coming on the podcast and being vulnerable and sharing.